Hello and welcome to Manibil. This is yet another part in my series on religion called Religion is Child Abuse, and I thought I might add a few finalizing comments to this, things that I might not have mentioned in my sort of more philosophical approach as such to why I consider religion a very, very bad thing. It's not a thing, but you know what I mean, right? One thing I have noticed is that first of all, I forgot I have a small list of things I need to say, so trying to keep up with all the points. There's a point I forgot to put on, which is Stefan Molyneux. For some reason that eludes me, right? I thought that it was because his child or his daughter turned out to be Christian, which apparently in a recent video I noticed she said she doesn't consider herself a Christian, right? So then I will say she's possibly not religious, right? Though she sort of supported some of the ideas of morality and living philosophy, let's say, right? And of course you can always find that. You can always, even a blind hen can find some corn, right? Find grain. So it's like, so why has he all of a sudden switched to religion? And that's not the main point I'm getting to, right? It's like you can just do that out of nowhere, right? I mean, apparently you can do that with politics, and he is a master sophist, right? So he can possibly get away with anything he wants, right? But this religion thing, I just don't get it, right? He was, a staunch critic of religion and particularly Christianity from the first the early podcast he made, which I remember listening to 10 years ago or so, right? And henceforth until about 5 years ago or something like that, right? All of a sudden he started to be a Christian, like out of the blue, like it sort of just changed without saying, okay, I have a major update on my thinking and this is the reason why I'm arguing philosophically this way and so on, right? Why? I mean, the only explanation I can give is that his morality, which is basically what it all comes down to, right, in the end. If you can tell, or at least that's how most people see morality. How can you tell other people how to act or not act, right? And if he knows that his UPB shit doesn't work, which he should be aware of, if he's just a half-decent philosopher with half a brain, right? He can see that it doesn't work. Just go listen to my deconstruction in a sort of a 12-part series, which is a year and a half old or something like that, right? Just to see how ridiculously bad it is. He needs something instead, and that's apparently Christianity, and that would also fall in line with the reactionary, conservatist, traditional kind of lifestyle, kind of, right? So it sort of all comes together in this kind of, how do you get from anarchist, atheist to Trump supporting Christian without explaining it? I mean, it's like, and why don't the Christians, and that's my point, right? Why don't the Christians say, what the fuck is with this guy? He was pissing on Christianity for 10 years, and all of a sudden he seems to be a Christian now. I don't buy it. I don't follow that many Christians, but I have never even heard anybody, who knows about Stefan Molyneux and then also considers himself a Christian. There's a few that has been on my board and so on, right? What are they doing? Why are they accepting this shit? right? And that says a lot about Christianity, in my opinion, right? That says the lamb has been lost, and they had found a way home now. Oh man, right? No, it's about, if you have stated something on principle and so on, right? And calling it philosophy and saving the world and Socrates and so on. And then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, now I'm a Christian. It should be a red flag, man, right? A serious red flag. Not least for the Christians. But apparently Christians don't have any principles, right? As long as people give up and say, okay, I guess I'm Christian, there's welcome back in the fold, right? I don't like that limp dick kind of approach to things, right? That's why I like philosophy. Because if you don't like somebody else's philosophy, you can say, well, therefore I don't need to engage with them, right? I've seen a lot of sort of libertarian-leaning people following, the world situation and COVID and all sorts of, and they tend to be very critical. These kinds of libertarian are usually also Christian, very Christian. I would even say, hardline Christian, right? Criticizing government interventions and also the Fauci and all that, right? COVID vaccine, also all that stuff, right? And of course I appreciate that, but I follow them not because they're Christian, but because they're critical of what is going on, right? And I think that's a problem that you have to. There's a street cleaning vehicle in the middle of the lane, and I can't, pass it because there's double line in the middle of the road, so I can't, and it would be jeopardizing safety to, what's it called when you pass? In Danish, called overhale. I don't know what it's called in English. When you overhaul another car. That's a different word. But then more time to talk to you, right? And these kinds of people, they are sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of blind faith in Christianity, right? And they are also slightly, preaching, right, about religion. You should do this, and you should listen to Jesus, and this is your God, and all this bullshit, right? So between the lines, it's like, okay, yes, I agree with this guy who says this because government is bad, and is Christian, and then they're sort of thinking, okay, they're a virtuous person, so Christianity must be sort of a good thing, right? Sort of they're very good sophists, Christians or religious people in general, because they have been exposed to sophistry all their life, right? Some of them are not, but a lot of them, some of them at least, right? So I think I can get around now. But in the end, what I get is, well, you have to wait for Messiah to come and fix it, right? It's like, yeah, Jesus is coming, and maybe they're not all of them are that outspoken, but some of them are, and a fairly big part of them are. And this kind I fucking hate, right? This, you have to sit down and wait until Batman comes and save the world, right? That's why Americans love Batman. It's a Jesus figure who will come and use violence because God says so, right? Fuck you, man. Be your own superhero, right? Be your own superhero. That's what philosophy is. It's being your own superhero. Nobody is coming to save you. And people who expect you to believe that, they're taking advantage of you. They're saying, sit down and wait till something miraculously happen. Right? It's fucking stupid, man. And another thing I don't like about the typical Christian is, it's always, if something bad happens, it's not a part of Christianity, right? Then they're outside, all of a sudden, they're outside Christianity. They're always the good people, right? As long as they say the magical words of Jesus and the Lord and all that, then they're the good people. And they believe it themselves, those fucking assholes, right? It's so disgusting, man, right? So if something bad happens, it's because they're not really Christian. So they're just sort of mentally kicked out of the space. So all the people who are still there are still the good ones, right? And maybe that's why something like communism can grow out of religion, and most notably Christianity, right? Sort of, if you look at Islam, that will be more like Adolf Hitler kind of things, right? I don't know how to, but it seems like this slave mentality, as Nietzsche called it, right, has sort of, it ends up being, communism, right? And I'm fucking sick of it, right? Nothing good comes from religion. Nothing. Right? Nothing. It's a slave mentality, right? It's a slave mentality. And it's like, bow down and obey your masters. And I mean, when that is translated into government, do what you're told. Serve your masters, pay the emperor, right? And that's why they're sort of in Russia and all sort of orthodox places like that, the ruler and religion merges, so that the religious people say, okay, the ruler is part of the religion, so I have to obey the ruler also, right? It's stupid, man, right? And basically, the end point I'm going with this, it is anti-philosophical. Because, as I said, being a philosopher is being your own superhero, right? That you can think your way to how to live your life, right? You could say that that's ethics. Some people would call it that. I don't think that's a good way to put ethics. Ethics is not how you live your life. It is a part about how you live your life. But there are all those things that are not applicable with a moral principle that you're also living. And that's sort of a virtuous life and something like that, right? But you can't let other people tell you what to do. It's stupid, man, right? Think for yourself. Whenever somebody comes to you and say, I think you should do this, I think you should do that, right? When I say, please don't listen to me as if it's an order. It's a suggestion, right? It's a figure of speech, so to say, right? Think for yourself. If you can't do it yourself, you can't accept that other people can do it for you, because you couldn't even think your way to decide that somebody else could tell you. If you can think that, why can't you do it yourself, man, right? So that's the final nail in that stupid religion thing, is that it's basically letting other people rule you. And that is always a bad idea. See you next time.